So since last video, I've been thinking about what exactly separates the true conservative reactionary type right winger versus the classically liberal libertarian or neoconservative type. And I think that despite what these other types say, they're always still operating in the same framework as your liberal leftist types. And to explain that, I have one quick example. So if you think about something like communism, uh, obviously the leftist says communism is a good thing, and you'll look at a conservative and they'll say, well, communism sounds really good on paper, but it is impossible in practice. So this is a bad argument because right from the outset, you're conceding the point that communism is good. You're saying that it sounds good, and then you put something after it. So all the leftist is going to hear is you agreeing that communism is good and it's something that should be worked for. Why would a person who is an ideologue, who truly believes in this utopian vision, they're not going to be stopped by you arguing that it's unfeasible from some kind of economic or historical perspective, right? They have this true thing that they believe in. You're not going to be able to reason them out of that position with some half-witted argument uh, based on, you know, you can't just redistribute wealth. And you'll see that neoconservatives, libertarians do this on nearly every position. So going back to my previous video on rape culture, you have their opinions on women. They'll always concede that men and women are equal, but then, a neocon might say, well, but women in the workforce is a bad thing for purely economic reasons. Well, that is always going to fall on deaf ears as long as you concede the original point that men and women are equal. And same thing with race. They always concede that all races are equal, but maybe, white people, it's okay if we have our own neighborhoods, right, for whatever reason. Uh, Obviously, gay people are normal just like us and they deserve rights, but maybe they shouldn't be adopting children for whatever reason. So it doesn't matter what your reasoning is that comes afterward, as long as you are conceding the original point. You're operating in this liberal leftist framework, and you are never going to win an argument that way. And so I think those of us, myself included, we found ourselves finally escaping this framework. And it took me a long time. I mean, I was sort of a libertarian type, and it really just, I just thought I was smarter than all these liberals, and I would form better rational arguments. But deep down, I believe certain things that I was not saying. I believed that there was differences in races and differences in sexes, and maybe gay people aren't actually just like us. But I would always concede these points for um, I don't know why. I was just sort of in denial of my own feelings because I guess I was stuck in this liberal framework and just thinking that this purely rational argument was going to convince people that conservatism is the right path because it's more logical and it makes more sense. So to escape this framework, you need to uh, not necessarily give up logic, but you can't have your logic rooted in the initial liberal talking point, right? Any logic that stems from, well, communism sounds really good, is always going to be bad. So rather than saying communism is good, you have to say, no, even if we had perfect luxury gay space communism, that sounds like hell. It would be destructive to human dignity, and it's not the world that I would want to live in. So even if you got your perfect world and communism was possible, I would reject it on all accounts. And that is a real argument. That is something that could actually, you know, resonate with somebody at a deeper level. I mean, obviously, a leftist is going to be resistant to that, but at least it opens up a totally different line of dialogue than just arguing about whether, resources can actually be distributed or not. And then, rather than uh, conceding that, gay people are just like us, take a value stance. Say, actually, this is destructive to a family unit, and it is a very rare occurrence and is absolutely not natural. And the fact that we encourage this and allow them to have such a strong impact on society is extremely destructive, right? That is going to totally shift the argument rather than conceding that gay people are just like us. Well, if they're just like us, why shouldn't they have the exact same say? Why should they not be elevated to a position and allowed their opinions to be spoken just as loudly as anybody else, right? As soon as you concede that point, anything else is meaningless. Um, so, we need to start operating in this type of way, uh, starting with strong value judgments, right? We can't just take a liberal point and then just try and rationally argue away from it. No, we need to take our own point that starts with a strong rational judgment. And I think as far as reactionary conservatism goes, your main points always have to be God, family, and nation, right? Anything that starts with these three tenets is going to be a strongly founded argument. And anything that is rooted in a liberal talking point is going to be a terrible argument. So, next time you argue with a leftist, or even next time you argue with a neoconservative, try this method of where you found your debate and see if that helps you gain more ground. Uh, I think that this is an effective method, at least as far as, in my experience. So, yeah, try that out. Tell me what you think, and tell me if it makes sense from a philosophical point of view as to developing foundations of right wing thought. And thanks for watching.